do you feel that the schooling system and how things are set up, are they designed to help our children or the opposite? What's your thoughts on that?
Gosh, yeah, that's a whole can of worms, isn't it?
Welcome to the Serious About Success podcast. I am here with the wonderful Hazel. So good to see you, Hazel. How are you today? You all right?
Very good, thank you, Jay. Yeah, really, really good. Thank you. And thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no worries at all. Okay, so we are going to be doing conversations with Jay and Hazel. Okay, this is something that we're going to be doing pretty much on a monthly basis, right? Or every 8 weeks or so.
Yeah.
We're going to have a bit of a chat,
A
right?
regular basis, I think so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We've got lots of things in common in relation to success and how we think about the world and how things have kind of panned out over the years and stuff like that. So I think that it would be very useful for the world to hear what it is that we've really got to say, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So look, let's jump straight into it, Hazel. You know,
Okay.
we're going to learn a little bit more about you and, you know, obviously myself, no doubt lots of people know about who I am, but, you know, we'll learn more about you as we go through. So one of the questions of what I've got for you would be, you know, based around, you know, what does success really mean? This is the Serious About Success podcast. So what do you really think that it takes to be successful?
That's a really good question. And I would say that my definition of success has shifted over the years. I would say that it's not the same as it used to be when I first started out on my journey. So I would say that success originally for me, I'm just talking personally now, was to, you know, be able to be financially free, be able to travel, have the house, have the car, etc., etc. And it was much more of a tangible kind of field, so that you actually had stuff. But over the years, my definition of success has changed and shifted. And actually, I define success as being happy with what you have and who you are and where you're at in life. And it doesn't necessarily boil down to the stuff that you have. It's more of a feeling of fulfillment and satisfaction and just being happy with yourself and happy with your life.
Yeah. Look, I understand. And one of the things of what we've spoken about before is how the successful people, how they define or they use their success, their financial success, to almost like define who they are.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, you know, right, I've got money. So now that I've got money, that now means that I'm so better than everybody else. You know, however, the reality when it comes down to making more money, all right, fantastic. But if you look in a lot of cases, you know, people that might have that sort of income, all right, great, they've got a lot of money, but other aspects of their life might be suffering.
Yeah.
However, the world doesn't see that. The world just sees money.
Yeah.
So when they see money, it's like, well, okay, well, look, you've got a lot of money, so that must mean that you've got everything, you know, so you've got the life, you know, you see the pictures, you know, you see the Instagram stuff, you see everything all over social media, you see the car, you see the watch, you know, you see the holidays.
Yeah.
And people, I believe, get kind of brought into a false sense of reality in relation to, well, you know, what success is.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, people might, you know, use that to define who they are and, well, look at me. But the reality is that they may well be really shallow in other aspects. I mean, what's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with having stuff, by the way. And just to say, it's not, you know, that it's wrong to have the stuff to be able to treat yourself to the things that you've worked hard for, and to therefore have the nice cars or be going on the nice holidays or to have the bling or anything like that. However, it's when you get to the point where you have that type of thing in your life, I don't know. Well, for me personally, I would say that it's like it doesn't define who you are, because actually perhaps you're seeking the next thing to get. You're seeking the next car or the next watch or the next this or what have you. And I actually think that it's hard because people want to portray that type of thing because that's what other people want.
Yeah.
And so it's like come and see what I've got because I know you want this stuff too. But actually it's always about how that stuff makes you feel. So it's when I've got this, then I'll feel that. When I can do this, then I'll, you know, be able to be more relaxed or less stressed or et cetera, et cetera. And it's, I don't know, I guess there's that sense of that thing is going to make me feel that way. Whereas actually, in reality, when you get those things, you don't necessarily feel that way. Yeah. You know, you can feel actually quite empty still, or you can feel like, oh, well, I've got this really nice car, but there's still a sense of like longing or lack, or I don't know what it is, but you know, there's you're not complete necessarily. So I think that the actual true success comes from feeling that sense of fulfillment, and actually, whether that's defined by stuff or whether that's defined by you being able to live the type of lifestyle you want without having to work the 9 to 5, or being able to travel more or spend more time with your family, whatever makes you feel good, whatever fills you up, is more about what defines success rather than the actual stuff. But yeah, you know, like we've spoken about before, haven't we, Jay? It's you know, a lot of people are brought in to wealth creation or success, or you know, improving their lives because they see other people having the types of things that they want to have, but actually it's not the things they want, it's the feeling that those things bring.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what it is you're saying. And you know, I think that over the years, I mean, I remember, you know, once upon a time, you know, seeing the glitz and the glamour. You know, I used to go to loads of events.
Yeah.
I used to go and, you know, to loads of these events, these wealth creation, and all you got to do is just this, you get rich, and you're seeing the pictures and you see the bling, and yeah, like you said, I think that there's nothing wrong with that, you know, and if that's what makes people happy, then great. But you know, I thought that would be it.
Yeah,
that's what would make me happy. So I used to always look at that and think, yeah, look, as soon as I get that, that's like, you know, I've got the life, you know, I'm now, you know, on the other side, and that's the answer to all of my problems. However, what I found after a period of time of really taking a lot of action and, you know, getting to a point of being able to acquire a lot of those, you know, great things of what people, you know, really sort of work towards, or people really, you know, desire to have, you know, what I found is that I felt a real deep sense of unfulfillment, you know, and that deep sense of unfulfillment came from, right, great, I might have a nice house, I have a really nice car, I can drive, I can go on really nice holidays, and you know, I'm a real restaurant buff, so I love eating in all the right restaurants and stuff like that. But I also just kind of felt, well, is this it?
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, because the novelty kind of wears off, and this is what I found, is that the novelty kind of wears off, and you're kind of just left with,
Is this it?
Is this it?
Is this it?
So I've been working, I've been, you know, busting my arse, you know, I've been looking at, you know, trying so much, because I'm thinking that as soon as I start making this money, I've now hit the promised land. This is it. You know, I'll make millions of pounds, and you know, as soon as I've done that, I've now, you know, I'm hit the promised land. That was always the what was portrayed.
Yes.
You know, what was sold.
Yeah.
That I hit the big time, and now I've hit the big time. But like I say, I think that, to be honest with you, I probably had some of my lowest times in my life when I've been making money. You know, whereas when I think about it back in the day, like, you know, when I was in my early 20s and stuff like that, you know, when you're just going on holiday with your friends, and even though I was broke, you know, you're scrimping together to find that bit of money to go on holiday. You know, you go out to wherever it is, Ibiza, Ayia Napa, all them sort of places, right? That's where I used to go. And I'm broke. But you know what? I'm having the absolute time of my life.
Yeah, interesting.
You know? Whereas, like I say, when you now start, you know, I've had times where I've started making more money, and I've just felt very low. I felt kind of, you know, I just felt like, well, yeah, like I say, is this it? Is this all what it's cracked up to be? And like I say, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm not saying like, yeah, I want to be broke. Like, no way.
No.
You know, I prefer to have money, but I guess I've just got to a stage in my life where I see the glitz and the glamour of the life. When I now see that lifestyle being projected and being sold, I just think it's a load of bullshit, to be honest with you. I think it's fake. Like, you know, you see it on Instagram, you see it all over the place, you see it all, and I just think, you know, and I know people are aspiring for that. And it's like, yeah, don't get me wrong, go for it, you know? Like, I don't want to make out like as if it's not, you know, you shouldn't have wealth, you shouldn't have money in the bank, you shouldn't have nice things if that's what you want. But I just want to, you know, I suppose make it really clear that, you know, to myself, and obviously, you know, we've had loads of conversations about this, that's not it.
No.
That's not the be all and end all. You know, that, right, you've now made the money, you know, there's going to be other aspects. So for me, I think that I've had great success, or I felt a great sense of achievement by being a parent. You know, my daughter is the greatest thing on this planet, and being able to, you know, just spend time with her and be a successful father, that has filled me with so much more fulfillment than, you know, I suppose making money it ever has, to be honest with you. Don't get me wrong, like I say, I don't want to knock it. But, you know, there's other aspects of where we might, you know, get that great sense of fulfillment, you know, in life. Whereas, like I say, sometimes that portrayal is not always like that.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
No, absolutely. I think, you know, I think it also depends on how you're building wealth. I think a lot of it comes to do with if you are building wealth from a sense of lack, or you're wanting to make a difference in your life, financially speaking, and status and the things, the you know, the nice things to have. I think it depends very much on where you're coming from in order to build that. If you're doing it just for the sake of building, of making money, and you do it and you're getting stressed about it, or you're feeling that, like I say, there's that sense of lack that you haven't got there yet, so therefore you have to go through all these motions in order to get there. I know people who have built very successful businesses who end up being absolutely miserable because they've had the stress and they've had the angst and the, you know, the all the, I don't know, the worry and et cetera, that goes alongside building the business. Whereas actually, if you're building a business or you're creating wealth or building wealth from a sense of actually really enjoying it, that ends up with a very different result, perhaps, than if you're going about just going through the motions of I've got to make money, I'm on the hustle, I'm on the go kind of thing. And it's actually not an enjoyable process. So, yeah, if I think about a few people that I know who have got to that point, who, you know, have got a multi-million-pound business, whatever that business might be, but are miserable, and they're still stressed and they're still going at it and they're still, you know, unfulfilled and they're still got the problems with their families and et cetera, what is the point? What is the point? Yeah. Whereas I think, you know, what I've learned from my journey is that I went down the route of, well, my husband and I went down the route of quite a few different ideas to build wealth. So one of the mainstay ones was property, but we did also try stock trading, network marketing, what else? You know, several things at the same time. And it was trying to spin plates and do too many things and thinking, oh, we want to be financially free, we want to be financially free, but actually to the detriment of experience right at that moment. And it wasn't until we sorted the wheat from the chaff and thought, what do we actually really enjoy? What are we good at? What have we made money at before? Why are we trying to fix something that isn't broken? And what can we, you know, how can we go forwards and make this work? Gave ourselves a jolly good talking to. And it was at that point when we were able to just clear the clutter and focus on the one thing that we were both good at, and we both enjoyed, and we both had different roles within that business. That's when things really came about, and there was a joy about building the business. And I still enjoy running that business. I still enjoy having conversations with the tenants or meeting tenants and actually, you know, deciding who's, you know, have the property and what have you, even talking to the tradespeople and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So there is that element of enjoyment about it, and it's not work, it's not effort. There is that sense of fulfillment as to what we have built up, and it changes and ebbs and flows over the course of time. And then, you know, starting the business that we started a couple of years ago, again, we set that up because we knew there was more in us to bring to the table. And again, it came with a few tweaks and changes, and it's been evolving ever since, and, you know, growing. But what we do because we absolutely love it. And it does give a different feeling when you get up in the morning, because, yeah, I got to the point with a certain aspect of business where I was just like, I was thinking, why am I doing this? I was doing some property mentoring, and I'd done that for about 13 years. And whilst I did really enjoy it, I did get to a point of near burnout. I wouldn't say I completely burnt out. I caught it just before. But it was getting to the point where I was not enjoying it. Yeah. And that for me was the biggest lesson, was when you are not in your flow, you're not enjoying it anymore. The money's coming in still, but there is definitely that sense of, is this it?
So that's a really interesting point, and that's a really good point to make very clear in terms of, look, you've been in this situation, you've got a multiple 7-figure property portfolio, you've done really well, all the rest of it. You've been teaching property training and all the rest of it, but even still in that situation, there was still something that is just missing. It's just So what was that? Was that based around you really not feeling like you was living your true purpose? Like, what do you think that really was?
Yeah, I mean, whilst I love property, and the property business has definitely afforded us the lifestyle that we have now, and it's, that we built that up. It took us a long time to get to the point where we were financially independent. And it had taken us a while to get to the point of building that up to get to becoming financially independent.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Don't worry, we've got lots more content left to come. This is just a quick word from me. Now, you will hear us speak a lot about things like mentorship, as well as that, surrounding yourself with the right people. Now, one of the other things, if you really want to achieve the financial success, what makes it helpful is to have things like accountability. This can be the difference between you making it and you really not really quite getting there. Now, if you're at the start of your journey, you want to maybe leave your 9-to-5 day job, or you're just in the process of starting up a business, I would like you to come and check out our website, www.seriousaboutssuccess.com. Over the years, we have coached thousands of people all around the world. We speak on BBC Radio as their go-to guy for anything related to mentorship. It's very important for you to have that helping hand along the way. So come and check out our website, sign up for our free training, and we'll show you exactly what it takes for you to succeed. Now back to the podcast.
So was it not as a result of you, so you had a multiple 7-figure business, you was doing really well as a property trainer, all of that sort of stuff, but you still felt like, you was on the verge of burning out. Is that as a result of you feeling like you didn't live your true life purpose? Is that what do you think?
Yeah, I would say that whilst I really loved the property business, and I had really enjoyed building up the property business over the course of time, it got to a point where it's like, I don't necessarily want to be talking about this all the time, or it had got just to a bit of a, I suppose, a plateau. Mm-hmm. I'd reached a plateau. I wasn't feeling enthused anymore, and I was also trying to still spin plates and do quite a lot of stuff as well. We also got to the point where we were just quite a few things going on in our lives, and it was just too much to be doing. And also I thought, this isn't the only thing that I want to be doing in life.
Yeah, this is it.
So I did recognize that point at which I felt like it was going to be burnout, and I stopped, and I just let the business calm down by itself, and let I was still working with 1 or 2 clients, a handful of clients, and then just recalibrated, I suppose, and just took the foot off the gas for about 18 months. I thought, well, if I don't have to do this, why am I doing it? And took the foot off the gas for about 18 months before reigniting the passion. I know what I love to talk about. I know that I love to coach people and inspire people and all that sort of thing, but I wanted to be doing it in a different way. Yeah. And so then it was rebirthed into the Freedom Club a couple of years ago.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes.
And and so we've been, that's been evolving and changing and taking shape ever since, really, but with a very different feel to it compared to the craziness that was the property mentoring business.
I get you. I understand. I mean, look, one of the key things about creating success that we've spoken about quite a bit, and what I do as a business,
absolutely,
and that is mindset. One of my pet hates, and we all know this, one of my pet hates, and I'm just going to keep it real, it is what it is. I'm not a big fan of that, all you got to do, you see all these things all over the internet, all you got to do is come and do this training, right? Learn just to do this thing, this Bitcoin thing or trading stock market things. All you got to do is spend half an hour a week, and you're going to be making tens of thousands of pounds or tens of thousands of dollars, whatever it may well be, just like that. All you got to do is follow my training. Now, that's one of my pet hates, and the reason why is because I suppose based on my journey, going through all of that, you mentioned that you tried, the stock market trading, you tried network marketing, no doubt multi-level marketing, all these different types of things. I've been through the exact same journey, trying so many different types of things. However, the reality is that I didn't really start becoming financially successful until I really understood exactly what it really took to achieve that level of success. And what that really means is, who am I?
Yeah.
Who really am I? And yes, all this get rich quick, but I still had bad habits, a mindset that was maybe, more of an employee mindset than an entrepreneur mindset.
Yeah.
So when I'm supposed to be getting stuff done, I'm like, well, the thing is, let me just do this other thing first, right? And I'm prioritizing, other things that are not conducive towards entrepreneurship. However, I'm just looking at this shiny star saying that all I got to do is get rich, just do this, follow this training, and I'm going to get rich very quickly. Again, a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
One of the things, obviously, as you know, what we teach is, what it really takes. The mindset of who you need to become. And obviously, you've had corporate jobs in the past. You've done lots of different types of jobs in the past previously, right? For you, who did you need to become, and what does that mindset of a real successful entrepreneur, what does that look like to you? What did you have to do in order to really develop your mind to where it's at now, to where you've made, 7 figures in your property empire? What did you have to shift within you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would say, I actually used to be a professional classical musician, and I have always been self-employed. So I had the self-employee mindset, and that served me well, because you, as a self-employed person, you still have to instigate your own work, and you have to kind of go out there and sell yourself, basically, and to get the work in. And I was doing music teaching and also gigs and concerts and various other bits and pieces. And then we started to get involved in property back in 2001. And I would say the shift that had to happen, we kind of fell into it, and also it was kind of encouraged. My parents had started buying properties, and because we bought our own property young, I was only 20 and my husband was 21, we already had the mindset for property. We'd always be looking in the estate agent windows. We'd always be curious when we went to other places in the world or in the UK about property prices. So we knew we had that interest in us, and then started buying properties, and slowly but surely, it was very slowly but surely, and we did get education, and we did spend a lot of money on the course, etc. And then we just carried on and just got on with it. But we thought it was just normal to do that. And it wasn't until I became a mentor that I realised that's actually not very normal. We weren't normal, because an awful lot of people, as you say, Jay, they go to trainings, they think it's the silver bullet, they think it's going to be the answer to their prayers, and they come to these trainings and they leave and they get hyped up, they buy into it, but actually don't do anything with it. And I actually think that what I had to do, naturally we tended towards our passion, which was, we had an interest in property. My parents had started working with property, so we were very fortunate to have found something that we were good at and were interested in. And I think that was the main reason why we became successful in property, because that was our starting point. And I went to a business talk years ago, and it was actually with Richard Farley he was a dragon on Dragon's Den, and he was saying that actually you can put, you could stick 10 people on this stage, give them all the same resources, all the same money, all the same expertise and knowledge, or wealth creation or financial freedom, the journey towards that. It's recognizing what you're good. It's for me, it's recognizing what you're good at and what you enjoy, and seeing how you can develop that into something that can bring you that level of wealth, financial freedom, success, all those things that you actually want to have in your life, and actually starting to embody it and live it from the beginning, not thinking that it's going to come to you at the end when you've made it. Because we all know it's never an overnight success. It's behind every overnight success is 20 years hard work, or 10 years hard work, or however long it takes somebody. So no, you're absolutely right there, Jane. Cool.
So, Hazel, a question for you. What do you think in terms of how the government and schooling system, do you believe, or do you feel that the school system and how things are set up, are they designed to help our children to flourish and live the ultimate life that they truly desire, or the opposite? What's your thoughts on that?
Gosh, yeah, that's a whole can of worms, isn't it? But I have to say, yeah, we've got some, I think, similar thinking about this. I have one son, and it's interesting because when he first started school, literally the minute he put his school uniform on, the very first time, and I dropped him off at school, it felt like I was putting him into a sausage machine.
Okay.
Literally, that was I don't know where it came from, but just my thinking was, here he goes, off into the sausage machine.
Yeah.
And I think innately, I recognised that, school is, whilst it is a great place to have social interaction and to learn a lot of life skills, I think that, to be really honest, if I'm being totally honest, that it's an antiquated system and it needs a massive shake-up, because what it's teaching children to do is be good at doing well at tests, at ticking the boxes, at recognising that I've got to learn this, repeat it parrot fashion and regurgitate it into an exam and get a result. And that will allow me to then progress, and so on and so forth. Whereas in actual fact, I think that if children had a lot more freedom to explore themselves, to figure out what it is that they enjoy in life, not just be prescripted to learn certain things, just have more time exploring. There are certain countries that allow children more freedom until a later age to explore themselves, see what they're good at, their aptitudes and what have you, and allow them to develop in those manners and have much more, freedom to explore that. And it wasn't until actually COVID hit, and my son was at grammar school, and he was second year at grammar school, so he was in year 8. And the minute that happened, and we started home educating, obviously from that point, within the school structure, fair enough. But interestingly, all the stuff that was coming through, my son was questioning and saying, do I have to learn this? And do I have to? And I was like, I couldn't actually disagree, because in myself, I was thinking, well, where's he headed? Is he going to go off to university and do all this, that and the other and just follow the same path as everybody else? Nothing wrong with that. It's just that I knew that there was maybe more to it than that. And literally on a walk with a friend at that point, we were kind of, really questioning education and what our children were getting out of it. And we said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could just home educate and just they can learn and explore then and nurture and develop their own talents and interests. And literally the boys, my son and her son, jumped through the hoop and just basically said, oh my gosh, yes, we definitely want to do that. Now, as it happens, my son ended up being home educated for the next 3 years and her son didn't. And it was like, he said, it was being like being let out of prison.
Wow. Okay. That's what he said, yeah.
He said his very words.
Okay.
And since that point, he's had the freedom to completely immerse himself in what he enjoys and is good at, which is everything tech, which is everything to do with now, sort of automotive like engines and, getting involved in that sort of thing and really explore his innate side. And there was no way in a million years that was ever going to happen through the education system. So, yeah, and I think also we discovered that there were an awful lot of other children who were unhappy with being at school and actually enjoyed the experience of having those, however many months it was that we were in lockdown, of actually, having a bit of time out and a bit of time to just decompress and perhaps, find themselves a little bit. And then when they had to go back in, it was a whole other thing. And there've been all sorts of problems since, haven't there, with mental health issues and, children not wanting to go back to school. There's been quite an enormous amount of, rally against that institutional thinking. So I think it is time for a shake-up. I think it is time for the education system to have a shake-up. If you think about it, it was meant to be for the industrial age, and we are no longer in the industrial age. We've gone way past there. We're not there to create minions to come out and, just do the roles which society perhaps dictates. There's so much more scope for people, for children these days.
I understand, and as we've said, like, you know, I agree with you in lots of these areas. I mean, I feel quite strongly about this type of
I was
stuff.
going to say, how about you? Because you've got a daughter as well.
Of course, I've got a daughter, and you know how I feel about these type of things is that where do I start? Okay, right. Look, I am of the camp that I believe that there's benefits of what you can learn from school, and you know some of that comes down to social interaction, all that sort of stuff with other children and that sort of thing. So I can see that the benefit there. There's elements of, you know, I believe that things like English is good to learn how to read and to write, and mathematics I think is also very good. You know, from that point, I then start to struggle. I really genuinely do, because, you know, I feel that a lot of things of what is being taught is based on an agenda that is based around what a system, a government, you know, wants to. It's almost like wanting to create clones of you know, just, you know, what you mentioned, the sausage factory, you know, one after the other, a clone of this is what our definition of history, this is what it is, and this is now what I'm going to teach. It doesn't matter whether or not this is the truth or not. This is from one perspective in terms of what it is that we want you to learn. So as a result of that, that's what you're now going to learn. You know, other aspects, you know, maybe even things down to even like, you know, RE, religious education, like loads of different things, loads of aspects. You know, it all comes down to a place of, look, this is what we want you to know.
Yes.
So this is now what we are going to teach, of which at the end of it, you now have to take a test to make sure that you have now taken on board what we want you to know, regardless whether or not it's truthful or not. You know, what about the real truth behind so many different things? Well, I can get into this. I really can.
That's a whole other podcast.
Will do. Don't get me wrong, we will do. You know, we will go deeper into these type of things, because, you know, this is a part of who I am. And, you know, but just to keep it on the basics for now, you know, this is what we want you to learn, and you're going to now take a test to make sure that you can now regurgitate what it is that we want you to know.
Yeah. So is that success? That's the thing. So if you've got, you know, a student who's really good at learning and really good at regurgitating the information and really good at doing exams and getting A stars, whatever it is these days, is that success?
Okay, good question. I don't think it is. Like for me, like, you know, obviously I've got a daughter, and, you know, I talk to her about these type of things all the time, and I'm very honest with her in terms of how I feel, and, you know, I want her to live. You know, so that then means that you know, I don't want you to just be a clone in the system. You know, I want you to live. So, you know, the questions of what I ask her a lot is, well, you know, instead of what do you want to be when you get older, it's like, well, what sort of lifestyle do you want to live when you're older? You know, that sort of thing. And then we can do something that kind of matches that lifestyle that, you know, that you feel passionate about, and something that can give you the type of freedom and the lifestyle that you ultimately really want.
Yeah.
You know, however, you know, going through the whole educational system and getting A stars and all the rest of it. And only guess what? You know, I got an A in this and I got an A in that. Well, all right, well, great. You know, but you got a lot of these people that have got all the degrees and everything, but, you know, they struggle to get a job, or you know, they're doing low paid jobs and stuff like that. So, you know, what does that degree really mean ultimately? I really genuinely believe that success is, you know, you really finding your own path, and, you know, you really, you know, getting to a point where you can live your own true purpose, or your, you know, what you're passionate about, and being able to try and make a living out of that, and living how you want to live. You know, living the lifestyle that really matches you. And like I say, the world is full up of different types of people, though, because we need, you know, people that might not be the free thinkers and the people out there that are going to try and change the world and stuff like that, because, you know, we need people in this society the way it is to do certain jobs, you know, that, you know, we might not necessarily want to do. So, you know, I understand, you know, from that perspective, but on a whole, I think that there's other ways of educating our children. I really hate the idea of children going into an establishment and they just have to sit down and learn through being told, you know, rather than being able to express themselves. You know, all this ADHD talk just because a child is not being stimulated by the teacher, and it's down to the teacher to really now be able to stimulate the child and get the child to learn. But, you know, that child might need to learn through play, learn through different types of learning, not just sit there and listen to a teacher. I remember what it's like when I was at school. You know, you can sit there and listen to a teacher and that's it. Yeah, this is it.
Sometimes.
I remember there have been times that I fell asleep in the class. I remember because I was that bored. And I came out of school and I didn't have great grades at all.
Yeah.
You know, I came out, I think I got 1 C in English. I then got D's, E's and F's. I then went to college and I dropped out of college because you don't have to go, right? You don't have to go. And that's pretty much about it.
Yeah.
That's my education. That's it. However, I've still been able to go on and generate millions of pounds in my businesses and live that lifestyle that I've ultimately really wanted to live. And to be honest with you, I can't really see how school really, really kind of pushed me or propelled me towards that. If anything, I was always told that, well, you're not really going to amount to anything based on me not being able to come out of school and have good academic grades. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you've got, there is a place for academia, and there are some people who are more able, or not able, but they're more aligned with the academic route, and they have the brain capacity to learn in that kind of way, and they have the ability to then go into universities doing PhDs, etc. And I think that there is a place for it, certainly in terms of if you want to become a doctor or a lawyer or that, something like that, where it requires a certain level of education, and that is absolutely fine. But I think the fact that we're being almost like pushed into or encouraged into higher education, at the end of the day, these universities, they're businesses.
Oh, yeah.
They are businesses at the end of the day. And, they need the money coming in from the different sources to be able to fund what they do. And so therefore academia is almost like it's commercialized rather than, an individual being allowed to explore what is right for them. If you think about, you go back to the good old days and, you think about that there were only, I don't know, maybe a few % of people that actually ended up going to university because that was the right route for them or what have you. And now it's just become this big, opened up, everybody's got to go to university. But actually the reality of it is that a lot of students end up in 30, 40, 50, 60,000 pounds worth of debt, starting off in life, not being able to get the job that they had hoped perhaps, and ending up doing something completely different from their degree. Whereas if they'd had the freedom and had been allowed to explore their own innate abilities and talents and what have you from a much earlier age, if they're not encouraged to do that outside of school, really, what hope have they got? And like you just said there, Jay, an awful lot of people who do make it in terms of being entrepreneurial are not necessarily academic.
Yeah,
they're the ones, you hear all day long Dragon's Den, types who have been, have had bad grades at school. Right, Richard Branson. You've got.
Also, Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about this type of stuff as well.
Yeah, I absolutely. I think that if you've got a child who is not necessarily that great at taking exams, the schooling system does not serve them. It's as simple as that.
That's right. And that now doesn't mean that they're not as clever, or they're not as
at all
intelligent. If anything, their creativity might be, it's not for, they could even go on to become the real entrepreneurs of the world, the real successful, leaders, because they don't want to conform to a system and an ideology that is just geared up to create clones.
Yeah.
So
I think if the education system was allowed to be more flexible, was allowed to have more capacity to for people to express themselves in different ways other than a written exam or a verbal exam or what have you, if it was allowed to have more coursework elements. I remember when GCSEs were relatively new when I did mine, many moons ago. There was a bit more freedom in terms of having that coursework alongside the exams to demonstrate your abilities in a particular subject. But I think it's interesting that I don't know how it would be mixed up or how it would be, but I mean, having been immersed in the home education world over the last 3 years, I see children just kind of really being allowed to explore themselves and being allowed to put together like a portfolio of work, let's say, a portfolio of what they can demonstrate that they can do, like photographic evidence, or their own like a PowerPoint or something like that to show what they've been doing or what they're good at, etc., so that they can actually maybe take a few exams like English, maths, which are important, I do agree, and maybe science as well if that's pertinent to what they want to go and do. But, you know, to kind of have an overall rounded, like I say, portfolio of them as an individual, what they can bring to the table, and demonstrating skills, interests, abilities, talents in a totally different way than just taking the exams.
No, I agree. Now let's you know, we're going to get to the end of our podcast very soon now, but just before we do, you know, if you was to give your summary in relation to what it really takes to be successful, you know, if somebody come to you, or another question would be, or another way of framing it would be, your younger self or your child, or if somebody's coming to you that is saying, right, you know, the schooling system isn't necessarily working for me as such. You know, I want to be successful. You know, what would you say? What would you tell them?
The first thing I would tell them 100% is to not worry.
Okay.
Not worry about not doing well at school or doing well at school, because it's not the be all and end all. I was quite an academic student, and I took 11 GCSEs and 4 A levels and went on to music college and all of that, and stressed myself out in the process, to be quite honest with you. So the first piece of advice I would say is not to worry, because there is always going to be a place for you. The world is full of opportunity, and the most important thing is to tap into yourself, tap into the things that make you, that you enjoy, and if you don't know what you enjoy, then go and explore it. You know, take yourself off the screens and into the real world, and immerse yourself in social activities, sports, or some sort of drama group, or I don't know, going dancing or whatever it is, going for walks, doing this, that and the other, maybe volunteering or something like that, and actually just exploring the type of activities in the real world. Because I think a lot of people derive their sense of self these days from what they see on the screens, and they're like, oh wow, so and so's doing this and that and the other, and it's like, oh wow, you know, and it's all so glitzy and glamorous. But actually the way to discover yourself is to go and immerse yourself in different activities. Go and get yourself a little job, go and, you know, experience life, so that you can start to see how it unfolds for you. And even if, you know, we started with absolutely nothing. I had no idea. I knew I wanted to be wealthy and to create wealth in my life, because I hadn't experienced that when I was a child. But I had no idea how I was going to do it. I would never have said in a million years that I would be a property investor, and that I was now coaching and, you know, taking this out into the world when I was younger. So I had no idea this was all going to unfold for me. So I think being true to yourself, exploring yourself, recognizing the things that you're good at and that you enjoy, and just allowing life to unfold without stressing about it, would be the advice I would give to my younger self.
Okay, cool. What about to an older version of yourself that hasn't quite made the multiple seven-figure property portfolio that you've currently got, but aspiring to get there? What would you tell yourself in that aspect? So lots of people listening, they might, no, again, look, we've just been very honest in relation to what success is. Don't get me wrong, it's great, you know, to be able to have things, but it's not everything. But I still believe that is something that, you know, we should all aspire to do, and to have that financial freedom is a great thing. But it's not always easy, as you and I both know. So yeah, what would you say to that person? You know, yourself maybe that is not quite there, but wants to be there, and is going to courses, and you're looking at, you know, the get rich quick thing, and is this really going to work? And, you know, what if it don't work, and all that type of thing. What would you tell that person?
Okay, I know exactly what I would tell that person, is to think about what it is that you want from success? What is it that you want from the financial freedom or the success or the, thinking that the house and the holidays and etc. are the be all and end all? What is it that you want? Is it that you want a peace of mind? Is it that you want to feel that sense of fulfillment? Is it that you want to, for a lot of people will say it's for the financial stability, especially in this day and age. Financial stability, the ability to do things that they want to do when they want to do it, with who they want to do it, without being dictated to by a prescripted time frame, bosses, 9 to 5, etc., etc. So let's just call it financial freedom, whatever you want to call it, lifestyle freedom. And then ask yourself, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to you to actually be financially free? What does it mean to you to actually be able to sack your boss? Yeah. Ask that question. Yeah. And then the last question is, how will that make you feel?
Yeah.
How is that going to make you feel? Because that is what you're after, not the stuff, not the wealth, not the finances, it's that feeling. And then start to build your life or to work with your with whatever activity you're working with from that place. And let's say it's for a sense of fulfillment. Well, what already makes you feel fulfilled? What already gives you that sense of joy?
Thank you very much for tuning in to the podcast with myself and Hazel. Now, unfortunately, towards the back end of the podcast, we had a slight encryption issue. So that then meant that the quality of the final part of the podcast, just the last 3 or 4 minutes, was not quite good enough to air. Okay, so instead of that, you've now got me. All right, but we will be going ahead with Hazel again. We'll be doing regular discussions with Hazel, so we'll have another one in the next coming weeks or so, of which we are going to be getting really deep. We're going to be talking about all sorts, things like maybe even things like the Illuminati, Freemasonry, education, the whole schooling system, parenting, obviously financial success, what it really takes, mindset, and lots of other things. Me and Hazel, we have quite interesting conversations, which is the reason why we're now putting it on a podcast. Okay, so look, stay tuned, because we will be going ahead in the coming weeks. If you did want to check out the upcoming podcast show with just Hazel herself, called The Wealth Whisperer, okay, that is going to be live very, very, very soon as well. All right, but thank you very much for tuning in, and I will look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. Thank you very much.